Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
July 29th, 6:41 p.m. This meeting is being held in person and/or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is anyone else recording the meeting?
I might hear on there from David from WATD.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for letting me know. Participating this evening, myself, Liz Klein, Julie Straley, and remotely Bill Ramsey. Welcome to our distinguished guest, Congressman Lynch. If you are willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes. Are we ready to proceed?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 2nd, 2025.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 4th, 2025.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 11th, 2025.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated June 17th, 2025.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. No days off in June.
Busy month.
Busy month. Okay, next on the agenda, the Plymouth County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, check presentation. We have Jared Valenzola here with us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jared Valenzola, Plymouth County Commissioner and Chairman. And for those of you who know me well, know I love the Beatles, and I get by with a little help from my friends. So this evening we have Congressman Lynch, Senator O'Connor, and Rep. Mosquito with us, and I would ask them to come up and also just offer a few words. So I'm generally going to be brief, which is rare because we do have them joining us. Before I did begin and introduce Representative Lynch, I did just want to bring the regrets of Commissioner Wright and Commissioner Hanley. They couldn't be here this evening, as well as Treasurer O'Brien. And the Treasurer especially wanted me to laud Michelle for the work that she did on this. We understand that she is moving on, and they really wanted to emphasize how much of a pleasure it was to work with Michelle and Tom, and of course your entire team. We've been very lucky to have this collaborative approach here with the county level as well as with your town. And before, again, I introduced Congressman Lynch, I did want to just thank Julie Straley for being your representative at our advisory board. So for those who may not be aware of county government, I occasionally use this opportunity to discuss some of the things that we do, but of course the commissioners of the executive branch, we need a legislative branch, much like our friends here serve in their respective legislative chambers. Our advisory board is our legislative branch. The county can't operate without it, and each community gets a representative, so we really appreciate you making the trip to Plymouth. I live in Plymouth, so I know it's not an easy one to make back and forth, so we appreciate that. So that's going to be it for me for now. We'll just introduce Representative Lynch, and I think Senator O'Connor and Rep. Mosquito will have something to say as well. Again, I occasionally forget things, so while it's at the top of my mind, I do want to thank the three of them. 5 years ago when CARES was passed, Congressman Lynch made sure Plymouth County was allocated $90 million. And not to go too far into the history of that, the previous administration was not too keen on that. Gubernatorial administration wasn't too keen on that. In the final analysis, we delivered 50% more dollars more quickly and at less than 1%. We've replicated that success for ARPA, and I know this is kind of our farewell tour, so I do apologize if I'm going a little long, because this is your last allocation unless somehow more money does find its way back. But we really did want to thank Representative Lynch. He joined us at a handful of these when his schedule permitted, and we're really grateful for his support of the county and of these programs. So with that, Representative Lynch.
Thank you. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Steve Lynch, United States Congressman from the 8th Congressional District, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for the courtesy you're extending to us for these moments. Obviously, the great success here is that we'll be able to present a check to the town of Hingham for $221,717. This is the last installment. Between the COVID Recovery Act and the American Rescue Plan Act, the town of Hingham will receive over $8.25 million, and largely discretionary. But I have to say, between the Board of Selectmen, Chair Ramsey, Liz, Julie, and Tom Mayo, as well as Michelle, thank you for the credibility that you earned because of the wisdom you used in deploying those dollars on behalf of the town of Hingham. Really, really well done. I understand this last section is being used for infrastructure over on 3A, but we're replacing an infrastructure, a pipe system that was put in, I believe, in the early 1950s. So I haven't, this part of the country, we have very old infrastructure, so definitely in need of repair. And when you talk about sustainability, these are the investments that we have to make. In giving great credit to the Plymouth County commissioners, they're doing it differently than the other counties in this state. I represent Suffolk County and Norfolk County, as well as Bristol County, and it was only in Plymouth County that they sort of took the bull by the horns and said, okay, we're gonna try to do this in a more efficient way so that the towns that we represent will get a bigger share of the resources that are coming from Washington. And they accomplished that quite well. There was very little money used administratively. The money went directly to the towns and to the taxpayers and the ratepayers. So hopefully it's a good example that other counties might take up in the future when federal money of this nature comes in. But it is a partnership, not only locally with Hingham, but also my colleagues in government in the Senate and the House. And I'm very, very lucky. I've got a great partnership across my district with my Senate and House colleagues here at the State House level, and Patrick O'Connor and Joan Moschino are the very best of their delegations, and so I'm very grateful for their partnership on this. It was really seamless in terms of how the money was allocated, and like I say, I'm very proud that we can show Washington in the future that we have the responsibility and the discipline to deploy those federal resources to gain the maximum benefit for the people, in this case, the people of Hingham, but also across the district. So thank you for the courtesy you extended to me, and I'd welcome Patrick if you'd like to say a few words. Yeah.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Jared. Thank you to the town as well. I was actually in some of those conversations that happened when the previous administration really they wanted all of the money to flow through the state. And Plymouth County, as the Congressman said, was the only one that said, no, we think we can do this better. And they certainly have. When this started with CARES Act, I remember trying to get to every single one of the communities, every single one of these check presentations. And then, to be perfectly honest with you, I just couldn't fit into my schedule because of how many checks they were delivering. And that says something. It says something about the need for county government and the success that they've had in all the different projects that they've done, from when this first started, making sure we were able to get testing at the Marshfield Fair. They were associated with that. to all the way through now. And we're looking at infrastructure projects that at that point in time didn't have much to do with the rescue plan, but are still just going to be resources that the town can use to supplement and do something else with. So I think it's excellent. And to Congressman Lynch, I just think that it's been such an honor the entire time that I've been in office. He's been in various different parts of the congressional district through to redistricting. But what an incredible voice we have on Capitol Hill with a lot of noise going on in Washington. You know, you have a pragmatic leader in Congressman Lynch who's always looking to do the right thing and doing things we can be proud of. So it's an honor to be here. Congratulations to the town on this check. Thank you to Plymouth County, and thank you to the congressman for all the work he's doing down in Washington.
Thank you, Senator.
Joan?
Uplifting all of my colleagues' remarks, I too just want to add my thanks to the Congressman for his leadership. We are very fortunate over these many years to have had such a wonderful leader, and it is always a pleasure to work with you on these projects. And in terms of these projects, let me just add that during the pandemic, we shut down the economy. And so this project and the money in general that was coming in through the county, and I think that was very forward-looking of the Treasurer's Office and the commissioners to think about what they could add value. To larger towns like Hingham, you have so much staff, but to the smaller towns, remember, they can't necessarily handle making those applications for those grants or the audit process afterwards. There's a lot more to than just getting the check. This is the happy moment. There's a lot of work thinking about what those projects are and then doing them and then documenting them. So I'm grateful to the county for its leadership. It was controversial at the time, but you really pulled it off, and it was really amazing and very professionally well done. And it's nice to know that we can also count, as we can count on the congressman, we can always count on our county as well. And I will just add that the money was meant to be an investment in the communities for economic development. And so what's so important about that was those were projects that we needed. They were one-time spends. You were very wise in the way that you used that money. And I applaud the select board and the town manager and his team for that. But it was also about keeping people in jobs and in works. And as we're getting this last final check, I just think it's good to remember that every time we spent $1, that was somebody who and those are good union jobs too. But every time we spent $1, those were dollars. That was money in somebody's pocket to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage, to feed their kids. And so we are grateful, and that was transformational in many different ways. So I just want to add my thanks to everyone and applaud the town and turn it back over to the congressman.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think we wanted to take a picture.
Yeah.
There's also a chunk of the opera money that will be used and will be part of the public safety building that we'll cut the ribbon on very soon, I think next week.
Monday.
Monday. So just another great example of how those resources were used in such a wise and thoughtful way. So.
Thank you, and I think that's all. I do like to quip, we do like to do the picture with the big check. Our records go back to the Pilgrims, so as I say, I need to do something to prove I was here. So in 400 years, people can look back on that. But we really have appreciated the partnership, and I know this is going towards infrastructure, as Representative Moschino mentioned, and I think it's interesting, catching the tail end of your water commissioners meeting, talking about some of the infrastructure issues you were dealing with many years ago. When you consider Plymouth County, with the $100 million we received in ARPA funds, about $25 million went towards water and sewer infrastructure across the county. And that's a pretty substantial number. But also consider, as you all know with municipal finance, that had we not been able to fund that through the appropriation from Congress with the support of our legislative colleagues, that's money that would have come out of your capital fund. That's money that you may would have had to have bonded with an interest rate, right? So on top of the fact that you got $25 million, or in Hingham's case, $4 million through ARPA, that's not only money that's going towards these vital projects, it's money you don't have to bond for. You're saving just an interest alone. And we've started, I'm not a math mind by any stretch. I was quipping before the meeting, you don't want me dealing with these applications. Lord knows what would have happened. But we're beginning to investigate truly what those long-term savings will be for these communities that invested these dollars with these one-time funds. And then the last thing I'll have to say, this is an additional allocation. So Hingham was one of 10 communities, and this is really, again, in kudos to your staff. Hingham was one of 10 communities that received an additional allocation above and beyond what the initial allocation was. We had predicted that there would be some communities that just may not be able to fully utilize these funds. But the last thing that we wanted to do, we gave Treasurer O'Brien this charge, was return any of these dollars to the federal government, no offense, but we wanted to keep it here in Plymouth County. Meeting several times in December, to your point, no days off in June, Madam Chair. We had a meeting on New Year's Eve. I wore a black suit for the occasion to make sure we could vote and get those dollars out the door. So that way these funds would continue to stay in Plymouth County and help your communities. So again, we appreciate you letting me go a little long. This is, I think, the last time we'll be here with this. I did pass out just some information on our other post-employment benefit trust. We have 14 programs at the county level. All of them are regional in nature. A lot of the communities that are taking advantage of these programs are realizing excellent savings. In the case of the of PCOT, the 10-year return has been over 10%, which has blown away the state and frankly, national average. And that is, again, just something that is saving money. And the county's budget has been the same as it has been for 15 years. So we're able to do that on a shoestring budget, but we're really proud of the work that we do, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Excellent. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for being here. Thank you for your partnership. We've spoken before about the efficient
Yes.
process and your professionalism, and we are grateful.
Thank
We're
you.
grateful to Michelle for shepherding these applications and processes through, and Congressman and Representative and Senator, thank you for being here. We absolutely have the best representation at the state level, we agree, and we are grateful. So thank you for the partnership.
Great. All right,
All
so
right,
we'll
should we do
the
a photo?
yeah, the well-traveled check
Did you want to
with
ask
the
a question?
dent and
Clark?
crease.
Sure, come on up.
I'm Clark Frazier. I live at 50 Bonnie Briar Circle. I'm chair of the Sewer Commission. On behalf of the commission and department, I thank everybody involved for this, and for Russell Tierney for helping us get our project going. I know 3A is a mess right now, but it will eventually be over. And one thing that I didn't say much about when doing the process, when all is said and done with this bond issue, we will have additional capacity, at least in the shipyard and then in that area. So I
Excellent.
thank everyone for this.
Thank you. Thank you, Clark. All right, just do the photo.
Go around in front of the seal there. Well done.
I haven't really got a chance to chat with you.
Oh, should we skip to that?
You got a whole bunch of people that have like one second. I told them it would take 15 minutes.
All right, and that's fine? Okay. All right, you ready to move on? Okay, thank you all for being here. I'm going to move on to the next agenda item to designate Assistant Town Administrator of Finance, Brittany Acapone, as an authorized user of the Plymouth County ARPA Plan portal to prepare applications on behalf of the town. Michelle?
Sure, I'll take this one. So just as part of the transition, first welcome Brittany as our new Assistant Town Administrator for Finance and her second already Select Board meeting. But as part of this transition, both Tom and I have been authorized as people who can submit documentation on behalf of the town through the portal, which has been a really easy process. All of our projects are already in, as Commissioner Valenzola said, and at this point, it's really just keeping up with the quarterly reporting. So thank you.
Excellent. Any questions or comments? Julie?
Nope.
Bill?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay. Ready to take a motion?
I make a motion to authorize Assistant Town Administrator for Finance, Brittany Acapone, to prepare and enter information into the Plymouth County American Rescue Plan portal in support of one or more applications to Plymouth County for grants, ARPA grants, to be funded from a grant received by Plymouth County under the American Rescue Plan Act.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Brittany. Next on the agenda is to proclaim August 9th, 2025 as Farmers Market Day in the town of Hingham. We have Bev Vernon with us.
Yes, I'm Bev Vernon, 31 School Street, Hingham, Mass. And we have Farmers Market Week, which is August 3rd through the 9th. And in the tradition of our market, we have celebrated Farmers Market Day on August 9th. And we are welcoming anyone from the town to come and celebrate it by ringing the bell. We have, I know one from the Select Board is coming, and another from Representative Moschino is accepted as well. And we welcome anyone to come join us to celebrate the influence that the farmers markets have on local shopping and healthy eating. And we want the town of Hingham to understand the support that we've been also given from the Select Board.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for all that you do for the farmers market. And I know there's lots of volunteers that make that happen. We do have a proclamation, which we'll read, and I know I'm planning on being there on Saturday as well. I just want to take a moment. Obviously, I think of Mark Cullings every day, but certainly today, and will be this weekend. He's a treasured friend of many of us, and a treasured part of this community that has lived on. I hope he knows we have cell service in downtown, as well as a thriving farmers market. So he is the epitome of everything good about this community, and we are grateful for him.
Yeah, this
and his
was,
legacy.
to do this without him is something that was not easy, but I know that continuing to do it is something that he would want to do, and we are grateful for the community to support us.
Excellent. Well, thank you. All right, we'll read the proclamation, and then I'll open it up if anyone else wants to say anything. Do you want to start, Julie?
Sure. Town of Hingham, Massachusetts proclamation. Whereas Her Excellency Governor Maura T. Healey of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has proclaimed August 3rd through 9th, 2025 to be Massachusetts Farmers Market Week. And whereas farmers markets are essential to the vitality of Massachusetts farms and are part of the cultural tradition of the Commonwealth. And whereas the Commonwealth is home of approximately 200 summer-fall farmers markets, which create a festive open-air setting which enhances community spirit and civic pride by offering a natural place for community gathering. And whereas farmers markets help heighten public awareness of the agricultural diversity of Massachusetts and the benefits of buying local and preserving open space. And
whereas it is befitting for the citizens of Hingham to recognize the continued contribution of farmers markets to local consumers, as well as their positive impact on the economy of the Commonwealth. And whereas Hingham's tradition of its farmers market, now in its 46th season, makes it the third oldest in the Commonwealth. Now therefore we, William C. Ramsey, Elizabeth F. Klein, and Julie M. Straley, Select Board of Hingham, do hereby proclaim Saturday, August 9th, 2025, to be Hingham Farmers Market Day, and urge all citizens to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Dated this 29th day of July, 2025. Signed by William C. Ramsey, Elizabeth F. Klein, and Julie M. Straley. Are there any other members of the public that want to make a comment? We have, no? Okay. Bill, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I did briefly. I actually was very near the spot where Mark passed away recently, and I was thinking of him this week. And I think, Bev, he would be so proud of the work that you've done and the way that you've stepped in and took the lead of the market. And thank you for all you've done. I'm sorry I can't be there on Saturday, but thank you for your leadership and what you're doing. It's a wonderful community gathering spot, and as you said, promotes healthy eating, and it's part of the fabric of our community now. And thank you for all you're doing, Bev. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. All right, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to proclaim August 9th, 2025 as Farmers Market Day in the town of Hingham.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
And thank you all. We hope
Thank
to see
you.
you August 9th.
Yes.
Thank you, Bev.
Okay. Next on the agenda is to consider the request of Chipotle Mexican Grill, 92 Derby Street, Hingham, for a change of operating hours. Do we have Ryan George on? Should we come back to this?
I don't see them. I can tell you what they're doing if you want.
Okay.
Chipotle is just extending their hours to 11, from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., as a lot of other restaurants do. Not too many of this genre of restaurants, but some of them close at 10:30, but they're looking to move from 10 to 11, I think because that's when the crowds are still down at Derby Street. So the chief was asked, and he had no problems with it.
Okay. Yes, I see the request. I see that the chief had no concerns. Any questions, Julie?
No, I'm just happy to see the chief is okay with this, so.
Bill, are you comfortable moving forward without?
I am, thank you. All
Okay.
set, thank you.
Any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the request of Chipotle Mexican Grill to extend their operating hours from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Passes unanimously. Okay, high school kids everywhere will be thrilled. Okay, next on the agenda, to consider approval of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Vitamin C Brewing LLC for the Weir River Farm Sunset Picnics to be held on Thursday, July 31st, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have Rich. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, it's part of the summer picnic series, and it's on the 31st in the evening, and there'll be some music there. Hayden Ward, I believe, will be there, and there'll be a couple food trucks. The sausage guy will be there. The nuttiest cookie will be there, and we want to be there to provide beer for everybody.
Excellent. Tom, do you want to add anything?
Other than that's a noble cause, but no.
Okay, and I know this is a successful event that has happened many years in a row, and I don't believe we require a police detail, correct?
I could double check with the chief.
Is
but
there one? Okay,
Yeah, it's not more than one.
one
Sure.
detail, okay. Okay, great. And there is not a rain date, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Julie?
No questions.
Bill?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, ready to take a motion?
I make a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Vitamin C Brewing LLC for the Weir River Farm Sunset Picnics to be held on Thursday, July 31st, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Should it be 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.?
Yes.
The event begins at 6, but do you come, or you set up at 5? Do you start serving at 5?
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, right. Yeah. Maybe maybe that was the time when we will be arriving. Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like it's not at 6 p.m. though.
All right, so
Okay,
6 then.
okay, that's fine then. Okay, I'll second that motion. Roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is to consider approval of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Decanted Wine Truck for the River Rock Music Festival at the Weir River Farm to be held on Saturday, September 6, 2025, from 1:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. We have Julia with us.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you just explain the application and the event a little bit?
Yes, so it's a fundraising event we attended last year. We will be there to serve wine and wine-based cocktails and mocktails.
Okay, great. And does this require a detail?
It would be the same one.
The same, okay. And we're expecting about 400 people?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no rain date for this either? Okay. Julie, any questions?
No questions.
Bill?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, I'm ready to take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Decanted Wine Truck for the River Rock Music Festival at Weir River Farm to be held on Saturday, September 6th, 2025, from 1:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Second, roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Good luck with the event.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, next on the agenda, Massachusetts Water Resource Authority, Regional Study Results and Next Steps. Art, you're going to lead this presentation?
Yes.
Great. Just in time, Clark.
You want to come up?
Hmm?
Moving them up.
Oh, sorry. Come on, yes. Who else should be up here? Okay. Sorry.
You can sit at the table.
Yeah.
All right, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight on where we are with a water capacity study targeting a potential opportunity to access MWRA water. I'm pleased to introduce Ryan Elgrove, a principal at EPG Apex, who was led the consulting team that supported the effort, along with Russ Tierney, our water system director, who provided copious technical expertise throughout. And I just wanted to state at the outset that this is a regional collaborative project where many communities came together to jointly explore the opportunity, and each community contributed funding through the ARPA program. So we'll walk through a little bit about the background in terms of the need for additional water, particularly in Hingham, particularly to support South Hingham development. It's worth noting, just looking at the map here, that the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority serves many communities. In Hingham, the MWRA does provide limited sewer support to the north side of town. And at this time, we do not have access to any MWRA water. And there may be a possibility of that going forward, and that's what this project is all about. So beyond the background, we want to speak to the results of this collaborative work, the study that we completed together with the support of Ryan's team, and talk a little bit about next steps. Given the study results, how Hingham, possibly in combination with other communities, may move forward. So just a little bit on background. The availability of surplus water supply to support Hingham, particularly South Hingham development, has been long understood as an impediment and certainly identified as far back as the South Hingham Study Group report that was published in 2017. And it's certainly been an important part of conversations we've had with property owners in that part of town as we've been exploring the potential for economic development. Along the way, in 2022, the MWRA made an important announcement and an important offer. they had determined that over time they had substantial excess water capacity to make available to other communities in the state, about 51 million gallons per day. The graph on this chart shows how MWRA water consumption has actually decreased substantially over the years due to demand management, the rising costs of water and wastewater treatment systems, and energy, all contributing to the use of efficient systems and appliances, created capacity that could be available to other communities. And of the 51 million gallons per day, the MWRA has announced that they're making as many as 20 million gallons per day available to new communities, communities that currently do not have access to their water capacity to join. And they also identified at that time that the entry fee, which is a substantial cost to join the MWRA, would be waived through December of 2027. So given that opportunity, certainly Hingham recognizing a real water challenge for development in the south part of town, but also understanding that other communities in the region are wrestling with similar water challenges, we convened conversations and we were able to build interest in working together. In November of 2023, 6 communities worked alongside Hingham to execute an agreement, come together through an MOU to agree to complete a joint study and agree to not just jointly fund it, but contribute the data, contribute the expertise, and have the back and forth necessary to get to outcomes and results that would help us all consider the best path forward. So with that, Ryan, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Art. Again, Ryan Allgrove from Apex. We've been doing consulting for the Weir River water system since it became part of the town. How long ago that was?
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Friday.
So you see, I have a couple tables here on this slide, and I just want to note the towns that were involved in the study. So Situate, Cohasset, Hanover, the Abington-Rockland Joint Waterworks. So those 2 communities have a joint water system similar to the Weir River water system, Hingham and Hull, and then also Norwell. So these are I guess that's 7 towns involved. And really, step 1 was to just project the demand out 20 years and see where we think all these towns are going to be on an average day basis, on a max day basis. And there's a few different ways you can look at demand. There's, like I said, average day, max day, and peak hour. But really, the 2 that I want to focus on here are the 2 that I have bullets here for maximum day. So that's, how much water you need on the hottest day of the summer, the weekend of 4th of July. That's the most that your system is going to have to provide in a 24-hour period. And then the redundancy need, which is what would happen if you lost your largest supply on that hottest day of the year when you need the most water. What kind of position would you be in? Do you have redundancy? If you lose that supply, can you still meet the demands of the town? So we projected out demands for each town, 20 years, and then we compared those to what the capacity of the supplies are in each town individually. And you can kind of go across for each town on the table and see how the supply compares to the projected demand. And then we tallied it up to see sort of regionally, is there a surplus? Is there a deficit? So you can see that there's a net surplus, actually, if you combine all these towns, of 0.47 million gallons per day. But if you take a quick look at the table, you'll see that all that surplus is concentrated in Situate and Cohasset. They have large reservoir supply systems that have far more capacity than their demands in town. And if you look at the other communities, Hanover, Abington, Rockland, Weir River water system, and Norwell, those, if you sum them up, you end up with a deficit of 2.16 million gallons per day. And I think it's also important to sort of realize that geographically, the MWRA, their system extends to Quincy. That's as close as it gets to this region. One of the other drivers in this study was the fact that Weymouth is pursuing an MWRA connection, and obviously that brings it one step closer to this region. So Geography counts, so Situate and Cohasset there is sort of on the outskirts of the study group, and they're the ones with the surplus. So, you know, in our minds, we tallied up the deficit towns because they are the closest to the MWRA system as it currently stands. So that's an important number, 2.16 MGD, max day demand, that deficit for the combination of Hanover, Abington, Rockland, Hingham, Hull, and Norwell. And the firm capacity, which is a term we use to say what happens if you lose your largest supply, all of the member communities in this study had a deficit in that emergency situation. So nobody can afford to lose their largest supply, whether it's a reservoir or their biggest groundwater well, whatever it may be. In all those situations, if they lose that during peak demand time of year, they're going to be in a deficit, and they're going to be asking the neighbors for water. It's going to be an emergency situation. So that set the table, and we use these numbers to conceptually. We actually took all the hydraulic computer models for each of the towns and smushed them into one big model. That was the bulk of the effort, and we conceptually put a pipeline through and connected all these different demands that the towns had to see, okay, what size pipe would you need, how long, what's the route that you would get from point A to point B, and you can see that on the next slide. Oh, sorry, the next slide is a summary of those conceptual scenarios. So obviously there's a lot of roads to get between all these towns. We narrowed it down to 8 conceptual routes. With these types of projects, we try to avoid small residential neighborhoods, stay to primary roads where there's right-of-way for additional infrastructure. And between those 8 conceptual scenarios, they varied from 8 to 13 miles of pipe. We kind of split it up between northern and southern routes because Weymouth's extension is still under consideration whether it's going to come to North Weymouth or South Weymouth. So we kind of took the conceptual ending points of their plans and extended it into these communities. The pipeline varied in diameter from 12-inch to 36-inch, and costs range from $130 million to $240 million. We put in here just for just to gauge, because obviously those costs would be split. We just split it up by flow, which is one way that you could allocate costs between different communities in this situation. It's not the only way, and obviously that would take a lot of negotiation to figure out. But if you just simply say, everyone's going to pay based on how much flow they need, if the range is $130 million to $240 million for the whole project, the Ware River Water System's share would be $20 to $28 million. So that gives you a sense of scale, anyways, between the different towns. The next slide, we didn't want to put up all 8 routes on one picture. It would just look like spaghetti, but this is one of the options coming from South Weymouth. You could sort of consider it, the red line is Weymouth's pipe coming from Quincy, and starting with the yellow line heading east, and also the blue line heading south to Abington and Rockland. This is a conceptual pipeline route, and we sort of just laid out on there where each town would connect. So like I said, there was 8 different versions of this, and this just gives you kind of a visual of what we modeled. And the next slide is the same picture, except I don't know if you could put that up, Art. Yep. We just highlighted some of the areas that have the potential for development in the region. So, in Hingham, the South Hingham properties that were mentioned, the Bristol property, the AW Perry property, some of the MBTA zoning districts, areas that are targeted that would, benefit. And these are the kind of the areas that are driving that deficit out 20 years. Because when we projected demands, we took population projections, but we also looked at each community's, certainly their MBTA housing plans. So those are big drivers for increased water demand. And also any other parcels that are sort of known to have the potential for large-scale development.
If I could, I'll just drill down just one additional level, just looking at what the opportunity looks like for Hingham. And there are a number of different pieces here that really matter. I mean, this map shows a couple of things that are important. One of which is that a proposed pipeline path and Route 3 lie pretty much in the middle of our South Hingham development opportunities. And Route 3 in particular provides an excellent spine connecting potential development in the region to development in Hingham, and as well as markets to the north and south. The Route 3 corridor in 2024, measured just north of the Route 228 exit, showed about 95,000 cars going in both directions each day, which suggests that there's a lot of market potential that we could tap. And in addition to the previous map that showed development footprints for Hanover, which is a proposed MBTA communities district, which is housing as well as commercial development. That's certainly the interest of their town manager, Joe Colangelo, with whom we've recently spoke. And certainly looking at Rockland, nearby districts that are relevant. One is an MBTA communities district, another is a 40R district, reflecting a combination of commercial and residential interest. Drilling back into looking at Hingham, the opportunities here are substantial. For example, the parcel set to the north of Route 3 are controlled by the Bristol family, represent about 150 acres that have all been aggregated, all lie between Route 53 and Old Derby Street, and lie just south and east of the quarry that they control, a tremendous development footprint. And looking south of Route 3, there are about 340 acres that together comprise the South Shore Business Park, controlled by A.W. Perry, of which about 160 of these acres is not developed. And to the town's credit, there's been a lot of effort to make the permitting process for that area more predictable by pursuing Chapter 43D expedited permitting. Within this footprint, the town has essentially made a commitment to complete all project permitting within a 6-month period. So we have many of the pieces in place, and if we can add water capacity to this mix, we can support development in Hingham as part of a larger, potentially as part of a larger approach to development in other communities. Next steps. There's a lot to consider, and we are, even with this work completed, we're at early stages. You know, as Ryan pointed out, a very important task for all of us is to track where Weymouth is and how they're moving forward with their application to access MWRA water. Not just from the standpoint of what path the water will flow through Hingham, you know, as Ryan pointed out, but also how much MWRA water Weymouth will ultimately seek to secure. There's only so much capacity that's available that flows south, and the water capacity that would be available for Hingham and possibly other communities would be essentially whatever is left over. So following Weymouth's progress is certainly important. In Hingham and each of the other towns that have been involved, we each have to determine our next steps. And for Hingham, one important set of questions that we have to address is something that Russ is working on, and reflects a contract that was approved earlier this evening, including looking at the capacity of our water treatment plant. Can it be expanded, and/or are there regulatory barriers? If the plant can't be expanded, and if there are regulatory barriers that would prevent that expansion, that helps buttress the case we can make to access MWRA water capacity. It's worth noting that in 2022, when the MWRA announced that this water capacity was available, they indicated that a priority would be made for communities that are proposing to use the resources for economic development. So we have important pieces of a strong case coming together for Hingham and potentially other communities in the region. And what we'll all have to do is think through these same issues and decide, you know, how to proceed. And we're looking forward to convening a meeting of town executives, over the next few weeks to explore this in a little bit more detail. The communities that are ready to move forward will work together to engage with the MWRA and others to share our stories, get feedback, and understanding the best path forward. So MWRA staff are important. Certainly our legislative delegation will be important. Working with the South Shore Chamber and other business-oriented groups, we'll need to build a strong coalition to raise awareness and to help build a case. And one thing I wanted to get to, and something that is important that you haven't talked about, is that this study touched on important aspects of bringing water to MWRA water capacity to Hingham and maybe other South Shore communities. But one question the study didn't really touch on is how to pay for it. And that's going to be a central conversation going forward with the MWRA and our partners. There are a number of different potential paths, one of which is a state appropriation, which is something we know Joe Colangelo from Hanover in our conversations with him is something he's a strong advocate of. There are potential paths for financing through state agencies. There's a potential for us to consider district improvement finance or similar programs that would leverage revenue from incremental development to pay for the infrastructure. And certainly, going forward, we'd want to engage closely with property owners to understand how they can support an outcome that will ultimately be beneficial to them as well. Let me close by saying, as I said, we're at early stages, and we're looking at a long process. Under ideal circumstances, there would be no ability for Hingham or other communities to access MWRA water until it was available in Weymouth, and we're projecting that in the year 2031, and our construction would follow with a projection that water could be available to support business and other activity in 2032. And along the way, you can see there are important steps that are in between, not least of which includes submitting an application and working through the approval process. One thing I wanted to close by noting is that at the end, the MWRA has, as I said before, waived the entry fee for successful applicants through the end of 2027. We don't project right now that we'd have the ability to submit an application for it to be completed and accepted by the end of 2027. So part of our engagement with stakeholders will be around looking for an extension for that. And what you don't see in this timeline that matter is that, among other things, the legislature and the governor both have to vote and say yes to this kind of expansion. So it's a big project. It's a long-term project with what we think for Hingham and perhaps other communities in the region can offer some real long-term payoff. And with that, I'll stop, and I think between myself, Ryan, and Russ, and we hope to address any questions you may have.
Liz, do you mind if I just add a point? Two things. One is, can you just speak to the size of the entry fee? This is a significant issue, the waiver of that entry fee.
Well, it's hard to calculate precisely, but I have a slide here. We can give you an example of what it could look like. The entry fee is determined based on the percentage of your community's infrastructure's value as a share of the entire MWRA system. So if a community, let's say for Hingham, for example, our incremental infrastructure equaled about 1% of the MWRA total, the value of that entry fee would be about $4.3 million. Now, we don't know exactly what our infrastructure would look like, so we can't really get at a super firm figure, but that entry fee is not small. And
It's a significant factor into why we're so interested and why all these towns are so interested. And the other thing, I just wanted to jump up 5 levels. Art, that was fantastic. Jump up 5 levels and just remind the community, the reason that we're pursuing this is because, appropriate commercial development in Hingham, and enticing a more appropriate commercial development is what will help us defray taxes in town from our residents to those commercial developments to help pay for these rising costs of local government that we see every day, all day, in addition to our need for improving infrastructure across town. So it's this type of development that's going to help us defray those costs away from our residents. And that, at its heart, is why we're pursuing all of this. Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for the presentation, Art. Thank you, Ryan, for being here. Russ, do you want to add anything? Thank you, Congressman.
No, I think that the study was very well done. All the communities were very hard at work trying to get this accomplished. I think the results are exactly what we all expected. Now it's a matter of what steps we want to take going forward. I just think it's a great thing for the town, development-wise, because we have to look at, I know everyone always says, how much water do we have, how much water do we have? And like Ryan said, one of our biggest fears is if we lose our biggest source, we start to get very stressed.
Right.
And just a small thing, like a large fire like we had, unfortunately, on Recreation Road, I was personally up for like 2 hours, making sure the fire department had enough water, and we were diverting water from one side of town to the other to make sure the tank stayed up. And these things would start to not go away, but be easier to manage if you had an extra supplemental water supply.
Great. Got it. And obviously, we talked about the capacity study before in the Board of Water Commissioners meeting. And I know that is scheduled to be done, I think, was it March 2026? Just looking at the timeline, is there any way to expedite the design, or is that, I know this is a very high level.
Yeah, that's why we're doing technical memos. That way there we can get ahead of some of the stuff that we want. So Ryan's team on that and I will make sure we work together, and if we need something done a little quicker, we'll put the resources at it and get a technical memo for that portion of it. So it's like I said, just like the master plan, we'll do technical memos along the way, so as we find results of certain things, we'll know.
Okay. There's a lot of information here, and I think a lot for us to absorb. I just want to ask one more question, and then I'll pass it to my colleagues. We talked about the Weir River Water System share being 20 to 28 million. I know that's a ballpark, kind of just to give us a magnitude, but does that depend on all 7 towns participating?
Yeah, so that's the key. Obviously, the lower the amount of towns who are participating, then, your piece of the pie gets bigger.
Okay, sure.
But it also is worth saying that, the higher end of those estimates, 230 million, those include extending the pipeline all the way out to Situate and Cohasset, and that, just those 2 towns alone, that kind of doubles the cost because they're just further away.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it depends on those 2 factors, how far we're going and then how many people are going to, split the pie up.
Got it. Julie?
Okay, I've got so many questions, but I'll try to distill it down. Just so I'm clear about the capacity study for the Weir River water system currently, based on those results, do I understand that based on the result of that capacity study, then the recommendation would be we have enough water, we don't need MWRA, or?
No, the MWA wants us
This
to
is
prove
something-
out that we need the water. So one of the ways
Okay.
we have to check the capacity, see if we have the ability to expand the plant. They could say, you guys can just expand your plant, and the state could do the same thing. So we need to do this study to make sure that we can show them that as we grow, as the towns grow, we need that extra capacity. In my heart, we all know that we need that extra capacity, and I'm not saying it's to serve the people, it's to have that backup. We need that redundancy. And if we get this water from the MWRA, we can then back off on the plant a little bit, which is getting older. We can slow down things, we can go push less water through the plant. That way there we can keep the plant up running the way it is longer and have it, because when we have days like we've had, we're pushing that plant to the max. And if you push that plant to the max at being 30 years old, things are gonna start to break. I mean, we're doing a great job keeping up with everything, but this is just help have what we call extra water, just in case we need everything. Now, with that all said, I don't think we just say the MWA, put a pipe in, we'll take it when we want it. We'll have to make some kind of commitment, which we should do.
Okay. And do you have, I know the big question is Weymouth, do you have any idea, does anyone have any idea ballpark of what they're contemplating?
Yeah, I mean, they're contemplating basically a pipeline similar to this. I mean, they have to go back to there's two connection points, potential connection points in Quincy. One's at the Pine Hill Cemetery right on the Braintree line, and the other connection point is on Furnace Brook Parkway at Adams Street. So you have to run a pipeline either sort of through Quincy or through Braintree to get to North Weymouth or South Weymouth, and build a pump station and connect it to the system. I think it is worthy of note that most of the communities, I think all the communities, including Weymouth, require a pump station. It's not as simple as just running a pipe. You know, the pressure has to be right. Each town has tanks that are at different elevations, so it's sort of, everybody is in a unique, has unique requirements. So, you know, Weymouth's plan in general is to run that pipeline either through Braintree or through Quincy, install a pump station and connect it to their system.
Okay, but they're ahead of us in line in terms of making decisions.
Yeah, so they've initiated the MIPA process, which is really, you know, there's the real big permit in this whole process is an interbasin transfer permit. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's really, the Water Resource Commission, which approves interbasin transfer permits, you know, they see it as a last resort, because what you're really doing when you connect to the MWA is you're taking water from the Quabbin Reservoir, which is in the Nashua River Basin in the middle of the state, and you're dumping it into the South Coastal Basin where you are geographically. So their goal is to keep water in the basin that it originates from. And so, like Art was saying, you sort of have to make a case that you don't have any other options. You need an interbasin transfer because the other options just aren't viable because of cost, because of environmental factors. Sometimes it's a technological factor. Towns have joined the MWA because their own supplies have been contaminated to the point where you just can't treat it anymore. It's just not viable. So, you know, you have to look at all those reasons and make your case that you're at the point of the last resort, which is interbasin transfer.
Okay, and then just a couple more questions, if I may. This is all incoming water, the proposal. This is not wastewater. So if we're talking about development in South Hingham, that's a totally different prospect, is dealing with sewer and all that. That would be different. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any point in our thought process about the financing of bringing in MWRA is that developers at some point could help with the financing for the big parcels in?
I would think, as I was saying, that's some of the conversations you had.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, that's it for now.
Phil?
Yeah, thank you. I have some comments, questions, and some frustration. So first of all, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate Art and those involved with the presentation, putting this forward tonight. So I just want to be clear, because Russ, you and I have had conversations in the past. My understanding that Ware River cannot support development at either the Perry property or the Bristol property. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct. They're too large for us to.
Too large?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, great. All right, I understand that. So I have said for the last 6 years, in order to get development on those parcels, that two things need to happen. First of all, we need sewer water infrastructure, MWRA, and we will probably need zoning changes that we do through town meeting. Without those two things happening, there's nothing happening up there, as I've said. And as Julie and Liz, I think, would agree with this, for years, we relied on new development to balance the increasing costs of town government, right? Particularly the Cove and other parcels in North Hingham. We were able to take that development money, and that fueled the rising cost of town government. We don't have any more. So you look at this 2032 timeline, and it's just super frustrating to me to know that as town government costs, municipal costs increase, that we don't have development to support those costs. So, I'm concerned here that as I look at this timeline and knowing what's going on, that I think my son Jack Ramsey will be on the board before this even happens. And it's like, and anything that, Senator, I don't know if Senator Connor's still there, he probably isn't, maybe Congressman Lynch is still in the room, but anything that they can do to help us with this would be, greatly appreciated by the board. I will tell you, Tom, I haven't told you this, but I recently reached out to Mayor Melissa's office in Weymouth, and he would like to meet with me and you to talk about this issue and other issues. So hopefully we'll do that in the coming weeks. But this is such a key part to what we're trying to do with our economic development plan. And I appreciate the presentation, but we need to try to figure out a way to speed up this timeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions or comments from anyone up here? Questions or comments from members of the public? Go ahead, Clark. Come up to the microphone, please.
Clark Frazier, 50 Bonnie Briar Circle. I wasn't planning to speak tonight on this, but I will as a sewer commissioner. I think the first question I have, and this is not directly to the water, is our comprehensive wastewater master plan dates in 2007, 2009, and the biggest, the part that least work was done was South Hingham. So I have a couple of thoughts. One is that we get that process going again. The second recommendation, which is not mentioned anywhere, is street pattern in South Hingham needs to be worked. You talked about zoning, but I think there's more than that. Need to maybe get consultant and work with the developers to lay out a street pattern with connectivity, because there's no street connectivity. It's really hard to build either a sewer or water infrastructure. So if you had a sewer layout, if you had a street layout with parcels that people could build on and the zoning to go with it, I think that would be much better than having what you have now. And then the third thing I'm obviously concerned about is the MWRA does not allow the town of Hingham, anything outside the north or now the Hingham Sewer District, to connect. And I wonder if there's anything in this negotiated we could do to change that. Particularly with South Hingham, we would need that, because what we've talked about for solutions before, like a leaching field of that, are just not really viable. I don't think, in my opinion, now I could be wrong, but so and these are things I think need to go on in parallel with what you're doing. And so any suggestions of what the Sewer Commission can do would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you engaging with the Sewer Commission, Art?
We've had several conversations about sewer capacity options.
Okay.
I'm not ready to talk about all of them and how realistic some of them are and some of them aren't. But you're absolutely right, Clark, that that's an equally important component of this. The MWRA was an immediate opportunity with their offer to waive that fee for water, but sewer matters too. And yes, we have a couple of several opportunities that we'll be exploring that we might be able to take advantage of.
Great, thank you.
We're going to have to do it.
Because the reason why I went this route is because they offered up the water. So that's where we started. When the day we heard they offered it up, I went straight to Tom's office and said, we need to really, when we're all in agreement that we need to look into this so that we can keep the town moving in the direction it wants to go.
Correct, but when you lay the lines, you need to.
Yep, agreed.
At the same time.
Agreed.
Possible.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. There's no vote on this tonight, but appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work on this. Thank you, Ryan. Nice meeting you.
You too.
Next on the agenda is appointments and/or reappointments. I don't believe we have any tonight. Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to make a comment? Please come up to the podium and just tell us your name and address. It's okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Maloof from 10 Shipyard Drive. And I'm here with a bunch of my fellow residents. We recently became aware that the Select Board has approved adding 2 new bus stops to the shipyard and getting rid of 213A. We are concerned that that change was approved without proper vetting of the community that's going to be most affected, impacted by this change. if there was a major public hearing, we weren't informed about it. If there was a major public hearing, they should have come, there's an awful lot of residences there, and they should have posted it. We would have gotten it out. The way I found out was I read the Anchor, and I was shocked, frankly, because we had no idea. Maybe our bad because we're not proactive all the time with you guys and with what's going on, but we really believe we should have been informed. What we're here tonight to request is that a public hearing be held. We know you've already made a decision. We're hoping that that can be rethought. We would like to have a public hearing that is very well advertised so that all the concerns and all of the suggestions, we have a lot of concerns and suggestions too, and those suggestions do not appear to have been discussed or taken into consideration. We would like to request a public hearing so that we can pursue that. In addition to that, we are requesting that there be a postponement of the commencement of the change in the bus routes until we are able to have a good, solid, comprehensive discussion and plan about what's happening and bring in all the other. We've got Hewitt's Cove, we've got the moorings, we've got us. This is hundreds of taxpayers who really should have been involved. And I thought it was very telling. I saw the video of the July 15th. I thought it was very telling that in the audience, there wasn't one single resident that's going to be impacted. And it's a huge impact. It's not NIMBYism, it's not elitism. There's a lot of good questions and concerns that have come down, and I think we all need to get together and figure out the best route. We do not believe the best route that was voted on, that the route that was voted on is in the best interests of our community. So can we have a public hearing?
So I will say thank you for your feedback. It's not on the agenda, so we can't have a discussion about this tonight, but Tom, can you follow up with Kelly, Kathy tomorrow?
The meeting will be over soon. I'll come and give you my card.
So what's the process?
Contact me tomorrow, or I'll contact
So
you.
you're in charge of creating public hearings?
Just contact me and we can discuss the next steps.
Oh, boy, I really can't talk about it. Okay, and as far as postponing the implementation of this?
Again, you gotta contact me and we'll walk through the next steps.
Yeah, I apologize. We do have to take it offline because it's not on this published
Interesting.
agenda.
Okay, yeah, no,
So-
we didn't know, but I
Yeah,
just
no,
wanted
but
to-
thank you for being
Anybody
here.
else
Any other
have
questions or
any other
comments?
Comments on it?
Feel free to come up. I'll just ask that you speak
Thank
at
you.
the podium. Thank you, because otherwise people on the Zoom can't hear you.
My name is Fran Gannon. I'm at 10 Shipyard Drive, and I have a lot of safety concerns with the traffic flow. And it's a very busy area anyways, and I know in 3A, there's 2 lanes that, the buses are going down. Once you get to Brio, by the boat, there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of people with a lot of children that are, running across the area. I just think it's a safety concern. If there was ever, there's going to be traffic. It's going to be stopping the boats, getting on the bus. There's going to be a new area for kids, a gym over there, people waiting for the bus. It just concerns me that if the fire department ever had to go over there, in the morning, there's deliveries to these restaurants. There's one way now to get through. So if there's ever a serious concern of traffic, a medical emergency, a kid hit by a car, a dog, it's open. It's all open. There's concerts there now. 2 weeks ago, they had to have people, at the marina, people had private parking. They had somebody there watching the parking. That was just totally full. I live on the 5th floor. I can see all the spots at the parking. It's a full lot. So this adds more congestion, and it doesn't make sense in terms of flow for traffic. it's a setup for safety, for the police, and the fire department. I just see that all it takes is, it's not going to be good. I mean, you know, there's tons of kids that run around there. There's no lights, they run across the street. They don't let the dogs off, but there's a lot of, you know, there's elderly there. We have people in the building that are in wheelchairs. It's a safety. I don't have kids there, but I have concerns. And just, I see people getting on the boat in the morning. Just watch it. People run across. They get off. I go to the gym at 5 o'clock on Mondays. I get to the circle over by, when you're leaving, it's bumper to bumper. So just adding that, if they changed the flow and maybe said we had a different flow, they'd come in and, you know, pick the people up at the boat and then redirect it to, you know, before they got to the circle here. If that is like a setup. I mean, already with Trader Joe's and the boat traffic, it's just very concerning. So as a resident there, I just feel like, you know, it warrants further discussion. We weren't thinking tonight. We just like to speak at another time because that's my story. But thank you for listening.
Well, thank you. No, thank you for the feedback and being so patient. This was a long meeting, so thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so Tom, you'll follow up with Kathy tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next on the agenda, Town Administrator Select Board reports. Brittany, do you want to add anything? No. You're surviving your first week. Art?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Michelle?
This is my last select board meeting, and I guess water commissioner meeting too, but my last select board meeting with the town of Hingham after 7 years. I want to thank you guys for all the opportunities, for letting me learn and grow into this. Tom and others for hiring me a long time ago. I am very proud of all the work that we've collectively done, all the investments that the community's made over the last several years, you know, getting through the pandemic, all these other crazy times. All of the board members that I've worked for, the three of you, Mary, Karen, Paul, and Joe have all been mentors to me, along with, of course, Tom, teaching me how to do everything. And I'm very grateful to have worked with this team continually, I can't speak English tonight, impressed by the professionalism, the dedication, the spirit of collegiality, just the immense talent and sophistication of both the people who choose to work for the town, as well as everyone who comes out and volunteers, really donates their time on all of our boards and committees. It's really the thing that makes Hingham run well, and it's what makes the town special. So I'm very grateful to have been a part of this for the last 7 years. Given everything that's happening on the national level, which is alarming to me, I find immense satisfaction in working at the local level where we have to keep things going. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Tom?
Sure. So, like Michelle said, this is Michelle's last night, last select board meeting, I should say. She's here through next week. So, just to put a finer point on what I'm about to say about Michelle Monsiger, what you just saw tonight, we got a check for $221,000. There was about $1 million extra that was unaccounted for from the county, countywide. But Michelle put in for an additional $500,000 just in case there might be something left. So we got $221,000 simply because of Michelle and who she is. She's careful, she cares, and she dots every I and crosses every T she comes across. So that's just a brief, amazing insight into who Michelle is. 2018, I hired Michelle. It was the best hire I ever made. A quick list of some of the things that we got from Michelle. So she came in towards the tail end of the acquisition of the Ware River water system, which is one of the biggest things that this town ever was able to put together and get done. And she was a huge part of getting that work done. You know, managing through the pandemic, someone mentioned earlier tonight I forget, it was one of the congressmen, or maybe it was Jared, something about something that happened during the pandemic, and I immediately had a shiver down my spine. I really want to forget those years, but Michelle was by my side every single step of the way. We had daily meetings for 6 months, and I say daily, 7 days a week. There was no difference in that era between 2 a.m. on a Sunday and 5 p.m. on a Thursday. It was the same. That's just what happened. And Michelle never balked, never complained. She was just there. She also, as you just heard tonight, managed our receipt of CARES money, of all the ARPA money, over $8 million. You heard the congressman say it tonight. It's shocking what Michelle was able to organize for this community and for the people here. We have significant personnel challenges during the pandemic that she helped me manage. All of the coordination from the federal, state, and county levels, as well as our neighboring communities. It was a massive effort that was wholly unseen because it just had to happen, and it happened mostly by Zoom and phone calls because that's the world we were all in from our living rooms, and it was extraordinarily difficult. Aside from the pandemic, Michelle also got us through all of the intricacies involved in building the Foster School and the public safety facility. I can just gloss over those like there's 2 words, foster and public safety facility, but my God, those were both multi-year efforts, extreme depth of knowledge and skill needed to do what got done, and Michelle was a huge part of it. Planning and designing the question that we put before the town for the tax override. It can't be overstated, the amount of work it takes to get that done in a comprehensive effort so the town can make its decision. And again, Michelle was right there in the middle of that whole conversation at every turn and helped us help the town understand the implications of everything and ultimately, I think, to make the right decision. The management of the town's finance team, Michelle's going to say at some point tonight that she doesn't do it alone and that there's a great team around her. And that team is as great as they are because of the management they got from Michelle for the last 7, 8 years. So amazing work. The implementation of software and extending software and improving our capacity for future growth because of implementing new technology to make sure that can happen well. She did all of that. I could go on and on. I won't. She also had to manage my ADD all along the way. So thank you for that. I always say I can't do this job without my ADD. And Michelle is a big part of making sure that while I'm running from thing to thing to thing in my chaotic brain, Michelle keeps me and the town focused and helps to do the things that need to be done. Brittany, don't run away. You can do it. You're stepping into big shoes, and that's a hard position to be put into. But the other thing I would just say, and I'm going to say more in a couple of days, but I'm losing one of my best friends from this job, and it's going to be hard to come to work every day. So you were great. Thank you for everything you did.
Thank you, Tom.
Bill?
Yeah, so tough to follow that. Thank you for your sentiments. And, Michelle, I plan to speak to you more in person when I'm there. But, every area of our town government has benefited from you. Your energy, your skill set that you brought, your kindness to everyone. I mean, our town and our community is better because of you and what you've done. And, personally, you've been a wonderful friend, a wonderful colleague, and I'm really going to miss working with you. I mean, you've just been awesome. And thank you for all you've done for the town. Thank you for all you've done for Hingham. You leave this town better than the way you found it. And I and everybody who lives in this town is eternally grateful because of what you've done. And just thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Julie?
Well, I feel cheated because I'm new on the select board, so I didn't get to work with Michelle. But I did have the pleasure of working with Michelle when I was on the advisory committee. And speaking of the darker days of the first days of COVID, you know, Michelle was just a great steady, calm presence during those weekly meetings that we had during those first couple of years when I was vice chair and chair. And it was scary times, but I just always appreciated Michelle's input and help and, well, expertise on the finances. So I'm glad I had that opportunity to work with you, even though now I don't get to in this capacity. But also during the years when I was on the Community Preservation Committee, I just am really grateful for all the extra work that you helped me with to sort of make sense of some things with the Community Preservation Act and our budgeting and all that. So thank you. And I always love your sense of humor, and I look forward to keeping in touch so that we can still joke about things. So thank you, Michelle.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's hard to go last year, but I I wanted to give my colleagues an opportunity. I knew everyone would have something nice to say, obviously, probably all be in tears, but you were my person when I started. So I'm so grateful. Your intellect, your expertise, everything you have brought certainly has made this community better, made me a better person, and a better select board member. So I'm grateful.
Thank you, Liz.
Okay. Bill asked me to be chair tonight, and now I'm crying, so I shouldn't have volunteered. Okay. Anyone else? Should I, moving on? Okay. So next on the agenda is executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Before I entertain a motion to go into executive session under item 14 of the agenda, I hereby declare that discussion of this agenda item in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. I will make a motion to enter executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. The board will not reconvene in open session. Roll call vote. Julie?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. We will go into executive session and we will not reconvene. So thank you and good night.